Natalia, it is such an honor to welcome you back to the Soul Collective. I am so excited to connect with you today.
Oh, beauty. It is honestly one of the biggest compliments to be invited back to a show, and I'm so honored. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I was looking back and we connected in April of 2021.
Oh my
And
gosh,
two
that's
years ago, so
wow.
much has unfolded, and your episode was such a listener favorite. It was filled with
Oh,
so much wisdom, and I'm just so honored and grateful to explore the evolution and just have a chance to connect with you.
thank you, my love. Wow, that is just amazing. I cannot believe it was 2 years ago. That's time is just absolutely flying.
It is, it's wild. And, I know you have been so busy, so much has unfolded. And, one thing I just want to ask you is something that you've shared recently about is your own journey with some health hurdles that you've overcome. And I'm just curious for you, like what you've learned in that journey. And you also shared about like the symbolism of the rabbit.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'd be happy to share. This is pretty fresh for me. And it's so funny. It's funny how the things that we truly need, it's like we don't know that we need them. It's like very unconscious. And we're just, I've been moving through the motions. I'm an Aries. I get very like action and go and all the things. And I also honor that from my past, I also have experienced traumatic events, as we all have, whether lowercase t, capital case T, trauma, and that a lot of my coping strategies to feel safe, to feel protected, to feel worthy, that a lot of times those coping strategies are like absolutely not serving me. And I believe that our health is such a powerful barometer for the current relationship that we have with our soul. And I know that might sound kind of crazy. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone really talk about that before, but at least from everything I've been experiencing recently, that's been a big thing where I'm just like, have I been living with a relationship to the deeper part of me that trusts, that knows I'm safe, that knows I'm worthy. And basically, just so everyone's like, wait, what are you talking about? But back in February, I went to Kauai, and when I was there, I started working out like things Aries do. Like I was like, I'm gonna work out 6 times a day, like just like full blown energy, just go, go, go. And then the next day, after I'd slept for about 8, 9 hours, I woke up and I could not get out of bed. And the night before, me and my best friends who were there, we set intentions and I said, I want to open my heart. And the next day I woke up and my heart was on fire. I actually didn't realize I was iron deficient. And if anyone's ever experienced iron deficiency, I mean, it's a wild amount of symptoms, but one thing is you have a very high heart rate, and it's very painful. And I didn't realize, this is going to sound really funny, but I didn't realize that I had been drinking too much matcha and I'd been drinking it too close to my meals. And for anyone who maybe is having iron deficiency symptoms, especially around their cycle, matcha actually, you have to research this to get the exact, I'm not a health expert, but matcha will actually seep iron out of foods. So I didn't realize that was happening. Like I was always drinking matcha and like eating, protein or whatever it is that I was having. So when I was on Kauai, that was kind of the first string of events where I just realized that I was moving too quickly and I wasn't taking care of myself properly. So I got home and I just was in the hospital again because I just was just being hard on myself. And it's like this cycle. But I believe that cycles are, what's the word? Like they're like spirals, right? So even if we make the same quote unquote mistake, or we do the same habit that gets us a similar, same result, I believe every time we evolve. And I feel like this last time that I ended up in the hospital is just a couple weeks ago. I feel like finally I sat down with myself and I was like, I love you and I'm really sorry and I'm ready to trust you, because my body is the vehicle that I get to experience this life, that I get to experience my business, that I get to experience this conversation. And it's like, I was just also sick for the last week. So it's like, I have just been going through the spin cycle. But depending on how deep we want to get, babe, I mean, I have like more of a, it's quite esoteric, but I have sort of a deeper understanding of also why I feel I've been moving through this really big detox lately. I don't know. I'm pretty out there. So as long as like this feels like the space to share it, I'm happy to share it, but it's pretty powerful.
It is. I mean, all of what you've shared already is so powerful. I have full body chills, and I feel like all those listening, myself can included, can really relate to your journey in some way, shape, or form. Perhaps
I'm so
taking the
glad.
body for granted, and the miraculous vehicle that it is. And then also the thing that comes up for me as you're sharing is, that some habits that we have that can be help us to be successful, like
Yes.
working or working out, that are, deemed productive, those can be sometimes the trickiest to like start to shift. At
Oh
least
my God. I couldn't agree more. And I feel like it's, we also live in a culture that rewards hyperactivity. And for many of us, it's not even a choice. It's like we have to, like, whether it's our cost of living or whatever it might be, like, it's a gift to, I believe, and I teach money and I teach business. I believe these things to be gifts. But at the same time, we also get to a place where we have to make sure that we're integrating with our heart and we're integrating with our spirit. And we can't overdo these things. And I feel like, you know, I had a healing in 2021, actually, not long after you and I got to meet. But I basically saw a past life in this hypnosis session that was just filled with a lot of pain and trauma and traumatic experiences. And what's interesting is, if you've ever done a regression, at the end, the hypnotherapist, the regression therapist, they'll ask you, what did you learn from this life? And I just kept saying over and over, it kind of gives me chills to say it, but I just said, women need to be protected. Women need to be protected. I just kept saying it over and over and over again. And I made the tie. This is what I love about hypnotherapy and regressions. I have a lot of 12th house energy in my chart too. So this is like my zone. But it was interesting because what I realized is, this has been one reason of so many that why I'm so passionate about the work that I do, and why I love to teach financial empowerment, entrepreneurship, the ways that we as women, or anyone who is heart aligned, if you want to utilize these tools, they're neutral and you can utilize them to create stability for yourself, stability for others. Powerful it's really a powerful, never ending reverberation. When we're stable or when we're abundant, we have something to share. So, what I'm getting at with the end of that message from that lifetime was, it gave me a lot of insight as to why I care so much about this. But at the same time, sometimes when you care about something a lot, there also can be a little bit of an obsession that doesn't come from always the healthiest place, because if it's rooted in fear, then that's not good either. And what I've realized over time, and when I lived in Los Angeles and I was just so in survival mode all the time, it's like these tools that, even though they are so empowering, when you become obsessed with them, they can be all consuming. So if I look at my business or money as the source of safety and power, I am going to, or empowerment, I'm going to like focus all my energy there. And that's really what I've dealt with over the years, is like, if that is my version of safety and I'm not getting that from my spirit or my heart or my relationship to God, it doesn't mean that that has to replace money and business, but the two things need to be in conversation. And that's something that I've taught over the years. But even though I teach it, it's like sometimes I get my own really harsh lessons of like, hey, are you really embodying this? Like, are you really doing this for yourself? And I think that the download for me recently was like, yes, these things create stability and safety, but so does your soul. And these things will never be enough in and of themselves. And we hear those cautionary tales all the time, like people who create the wealth or create the this, but did they lose themselves? Did they lose their heart? Did they lose their relationships or their health or whatever it may be? So I think that the spiritual path, or the, let's say, the path of self awareness, is like, how can we integrate these things? And this is what I'm experiencing right now, more deep than I ever have, which is like, yes, I get to do my business and I get to take care of my money, but am I enjoying my life? Am I being a good friend? Like, am I looking myself in the mirror and instead of demanding perfection, telling myself, like, I love you and I'm here for you, and making peace with my body? So it's been just like really interesting, because I feel like when we're in our own spin cycles of transformation, it's really hard to see the forest for the trees. But I'm so honored that you asked me about this, because honestly, I haven't talked about it really yet. And it's been just a really deep process that I've also been proud of myself for sharing, because it's not always easy to open up when you're going through things that are vulnerable. And just even to have my community see, like, okay, she had this thing a couple months ago and then she was just in the hospital and then she's just sick. It's just like, I'm human and I'm moving through my own transformatory processes all the time. But what I love is they make me better for everything that I do. But most of all, it's like they strengthen my relationship with me, which makes me better for everything that I do. So it's very powerful.
It is so powerful. Yeah, and just it's so inspiring to hear you share about your own journey. I feel like we can learn so much from each other. And what it brings up as you're sharing is the devotion, the level of
Oh, I
devotion
love
to
that.
service. And I feel like that was like ignited in your past life memory,
Yes.
really recalling like why you're here. And it can sometimes be hard, I find, to like balance this mission and
Oh, yes.
with all the things. And it's really amazing to see, because I know you as a manifesting generator, it's like there are all the things. And something that you've been sharing about more recently, like you just had a podcast episode on this, is being a DJ.
Yes. So many, Jen. Like all the things. Like gotta do all the passions.
Yeah. And so I love this, because it's like there's so much like that we desire to create and experience, and then at the same time, like remembering to sleep and to rest and
Yes.
to
Take
tend to the
care.
body.
Yes, babe. I mean, I love that you bring that up too, just because I I feel like, because ninth child, like that project, it is an expression of my soul. It really is just something that I enjoy. But it's so funny, because whenever I've been in pursuit of that project and that expression, she has given me some very harsh lessons. And one reason I was kind of going all out and doing the workouts and doing all the things that got me kind of in the hospital and then a little bit sick was because I was like, I need to be perfect and look perfect for this show. That was like my internal kind of shadowy dialogue. And then she came in and was like, you don't need to look perfect. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to have fun with this. Like, we're not here. This is not another thing for you to hurt yourself with. This is a thing for you to liberate your energy with and to liberate others' energy with and to be inspiring and to be inspired yourself. So it's just powerful when we pursue the things that light our heart up and light our soul on fire, so to speak. They will teach us. They are our teachers just as much as anything else. Like, they really will guide us. And that's why I think sometimes it can be scary to follow the things we're ignited by, because our ego knows, like, we're going to get some schooling, like, we're going to get some humbling. It's going to be a journey.
1000%. And, I just love how you are sharing about your experience and your journey. And,
Thank you, babe.
it's like, whether it is like a health challenge or, your journey with putting out your music and being a DJ, all the things, it's like, did that ever, was there ever a part of you that was like, I can't show up to share this part of me, and in some way it might like detract from like the business, side of things. Like, tell me about that process for you.
That's amazing. So really, like, was I ever concerned, like, if I showed up with the DJing, like, would it take away from like Natalia Benson and like my work there?
Because I feel like, one of the biggest questions with like content creation, is like, what do I share, and how to share it? And can I share all parts of me? And like, how does this integrate, and you just do it in such a beautiful way.
Oh my God, babe. That is like the deepest compliment, and it's really a beautiful reflection, because I think sometimes I have judgment where I'm like, am I just all over the board? But understanding my human design has been helpful with that, and also just knowing my makeup and my chart as well, of just like, that part of me is, she gets to be here. Like, she gets to express herself. And I just go, when it comes to content, especially, or the business, I'm going to answer this in two parts. But first, I feel like I go where the energy is. And I think where we all lose our energy is because we literally do shoulds, or we think we should do something. And I know when I do shoulds, there's not a lot of energy there. And it doesn't always even perform well, because people are just like, I think we're all so remarkably attuned, whether we're aware of it or not. And we can feel when we're connected. It doesn't mean you only make content when you're in that place, because I don't, and not everything I put out is like a smash hit. But at the same time, I go where the energy is. And just because the energy is there for me doesn't mean it's there for everyone else. Sometimes I put things out and I'm like, this is amazing. And somebody is like, people are like, "Oh, we don't really care about that." So it's like, how can I follow my own internal compass, so to speak? And this thing that's been coming through with myself, with my clients lately, is like, I'm going to go where the energy is. And so for me, if the energy is in, I'm preparing a set to play the first show that I've played in 4 years, then I'm going to share about that. Or if the focus is like, I'm really getting focused on financial organization, or let's say I have a specific launch, I go where the energy is and where I'm generating energy. And for me, especially as a Manny Gen, I like to respond to things. So I ask people where I'm like, hey, what would you love to learn? Or what would you love to experience from this? And I make it this co creative thing. So, yes, it's on me to be inspired and to live my life and to be accountable with my own process, but also it's, and I share this often with my women, is like, ask your people what they want from you. Like, ask what they're looking to improve in their lives, and let that inspire like what you create. But I hope I answered your question, babe, but I feel like Good, tell me, tell me.
Yeah, no, that's such great advice to like ask your community and really get feedback. And also, I feel like something that I've been attuning to recently is the connection between the sacral and the throat chakra.
Oh,
And I
yes.
feel like that so connects with what you're sharing about like following your emotions and your passion, like what's lighting you up. Because I feel like that is the connection that is magnetic, when we're
Oh
able to
my
share that
gosh.
in that place.
I'm also just, I feel, wait, you're a Virgo, right?
Mhm.
What's your rising?
Virgo.
What's your moon?
Pisces.
Do you have any Scorpio in your chart?
My Saturn is at 0 degrees of Scorpio.
Amazing. And then do you have like your Pisces, you said Pisces moon?
Pisces moon, yeah.
Wow, because you're like you are so attuned. And I feel like most things you're asking, I'm like, I've been thinking, I just thought about this morning. But also, I just did a womb healing the other day with Josie Danielle. She's a healer based in the UK. And it was powerful just what you're sharing about the womb to the throat, because the whole healing was about connecting the womb to the heart. And I don't know. I mean, obviously this is a new thing for me. I even told Josie, I was like, I have never done a healing like this in my life. I'm sure I've healed this like inadvertently or in hypnotherapy or something, but this was the first time I ever really thought about, just as a woman, like the power of my womb and the creative power, and how not only just to create life, but also to trust and birth my ideas and to be receptive. And I think that what I've learned, even just from the health stuff that I've gone through this year, it's really been from an underactive sacral. And I understand from my own experience why I've had that. But it's powerful when we remember our energy centers, as Joe Dispenza calls them. And it's just like these things are very real and they're very, very important for us.
Yeah, and I feel like as women, the womb, the sacral energy
Yes,
center is so, so powerful. And
it
I was
really
just having a
is.
conversation about this the other day, and I feel like just collectively, like the
Yeah.
the remembrance, the healing that's taking place is just remarkable, and it's having, I feel like, such a ripple effect.
Oh my gosh, that is it's really just so exciting, truly. It's just like I think that when we as women, you know, I'm reading a book, I just started it. It's called Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom by Christiane Northrup. Have you heard of this book?
Yes, I have.
It's 51 hours on Audible. I'm like, are you serious? 51 hours? I've seen 13, 15, 16-hour books. I've never seen a 51-hour book. So I'm very interested to dive into this. But she talked about something that really came online for me, especially ending up in the hospital a few weeks ago, this idea of like the internalized patriarchy, and not to be divisive, but to understand that for many of us, we have taken on this hyper perfectionism, hyper productivity. And what I think the return to our own self awareness, the process I'm in right now of connecting to my sacral again, which I've never done this before, and I'm 36 years old. So it's this very new space, but it's really this idea of like a reclamation. And it's like we're reclaiming this energy because this energy is needed right now. It's very, very much needed.
I have full body chills, and it's amazing. Like I have just started yoni steaming recently, and I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
why have I not been doing this before
Oh
now?
my
It's such a
gosh.
powerful, beautiful practice. But I just want
Yes.
to caveat, in full transparency before this conversation, I was binge watching your YouTube channel and just
Oh
like
my
catching
God.
up on all the things. You have such an amazing collection of videos and tools.
Oh, thank you, babe.
And you're, I think, number one highly viewed. I mean, all of them have so much, engagement and love, but the number one video on your YouTube channel is balancing masculine and feminine energetics. And I feel like
Yeah,
that speaks volumes to kind of where we're at and the
absolutely.
importance of really kind of looking at those energetics internally.
Oh my God. Thank you for bringing that up. And, I kind of moved away for a couple years talking about masculine and feminine because I found I was triggering people. And I realized, as someone who loves and appreciates the esoteric, and I'm a student of the tarot and a student of astrology, these things all rest not on gender polarity. It's not about that, but it's about energetic polarity, and that is a very real, it's a universal law, and it's a very real part of our experience. And if we want to be effective in our lives, if we want to create peace, if we want to create well-being, if we want to create abundance, health, wealth, connection, we must understand energetic polarity. It is at play in our lives, in our bodies, in our money, in our partnerships. It is alive, and it is alive in this conversation. If we were both in our masculine, we would be talking at the same time, and this would be very unenjoyable. But we have this cadence of receptive to active, receptive to active. That is at play always. And I love that you bring that up because I just feel like I started to talk about this more on the podcast recently, but I was like, you guys, I'm going to begin to talk about this because me ignoring this is actually what landed me in the situation that I've been in recently. And when I ignore the fact that we do live in an energetic, let's see how to put this, like an energetically polarized experience, meaning energy is, it needs to balance. It needs active and passive, black and white, light to dark, good to bad. We understand everything in this experience because of dichotomy. And I just like I love these conversations because they run everything in my life, and I think it helps us to live with a bit more peace because we don't need to be on all the time. And I think what you bringing up, babe, about the yoni steaming, the way I receive that when you share is like, I feel like one of my obsessions about teaching these tools, money and business, astrology, it's to create a healthy container for the feminine to rest. It's to create a safe place, because I know for myself, when I was broke and just going, there was no space for care. There was no space for spiritual exploration. Like, and it's like these things are needed. So we have to have the stabilization so we feel safe to create the time to actually take care of ourselves, to actually create a relationship. Like, one more thing that I'd love to throw in here. This is so fun. I can't wait to share this with my community because this is all stuff I haven't got to talk about. But I just started to do a bit. I'm at the very beginning because, truth be told, it scares me. But I'm just starting to read a book about mediumship, and I'm realizing I'm able to explore my gifts and these things that maybe they're not going to make me money tomorrow. It's not about that, but it's my soul. My soul wants to experience something. It's something it wants to know and do. And it is because of stabilization. It's because I'm stable. And that is why I'm obsessed with this, because we need stabilization to let our gifts grow. It's like a beautiful garden. Well, if that garden is in upheaval or floating in midair, you're not going to be able to plant beautiful tomatoes and flowers and roses. You have to have the stabilization to create the gifts and also to pour back in. And this is coming from an Aries Manny Gen who just learns this lesson the hard way every single time. And it's been landing so strong of how important this is right now. And yeah, I love this. I love this, how this conversation is flowing. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, same. And what you just shared just brought up like so many different ideas and inspiration. And, one thing that it really brings through is just this idea of spaciousness and creating the container
Yes.
to heal, to attune to the self, because without really having the space to go within to listen, like we can't show up in the world in our
Yes.
fullest, most, authentic and abundant expression. And so
Absolutely.
I love that you bring that through. And, the other aspect that's coming through is around like your beautiful Aries energy of like having the courage and the confidence to follow your heart in
Mm.
such a beautiful way. Like when you're talking about the mediumship, I got full body chills and like
Oh
so
gosh.
excited to see how that,
It's
is
gonna
brought
be
through.
cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, but one thing I really want to ask you about is, I know that there's been such an evolution and expansion in your world and your business. And it's probably impacted the way that you serve, like, and just how that experience has been for you with maybe perhaps changing your offerings, and like really kind of what you've learned through that process of growth and expansion.
Oh my God, babe. This is your Pisces moon because there was this one thing I knew I wanted to share a couple minutes ago, and then I went in another direction. And I'm grateful because this is perfect and something I think is so important. I think that something for me, in 2021, like around when I met you, I really decided I am going to step in this direction of astrology, money, and business. Like that's my method, so to speak, where yes, we're working with financial empowerment and the entrepreneurial journey, but it's rooted in the astrological blueprint. But it's interesting because, especially as a Manny Gen and being super multi passionate, I've had to learn over the years like, what am I truly here to do? And how can I actually stay focused and still allow it to be dynamic? Because something for Manny Gens and where we can get into a little bit of trouble is like, and this is a cardinal thing too in astrology for the modalities. I have a lot of cardinal energy, meaning I'm very good at starting things. And the medicine for me over the years has been, well, what do I have the deep gumption, the deep passion to actually stick to and commit to? So over the last couple of years, I've had these programs. I've had Magical Women in Money, my financial empowerment membership. I've had the business school, but it was almost like I was afraid to fully go into those things because I didn't want to be perceived as greedy or all the negative projections people have about money and business. I was scared to really show up and be like, I believe in these tools so much and I love and I appreciate these tools because of what they've created in my life. That was kind of scary to be like, I'm going to fully go all in. And what I have learned, I'm always learning, but especially over the last year, it's like, okay, I have these things. These are like my core offers. I call them monetization pillars in the way that I teach business, but I have these core offers and they're core expressions of my mission. But also, how can I have fun and keep it dynamic? And so within each offer, I only do what it is that really, like, if something feels like drudgery, I know that I have to find another way to do it. I can't do the shoulds, like how I'm told I should do a program or do this or do that. I have to tap in and be like, what would be fun for me to do? And where could I deliver the most energy? And I again, I'm not a health expert, not a human design expert, but I love human design. And as I've understood as a business owner and a CEO, as I've understood and accepted myself as a manifesting generator, it's been really helpful because it helps me understand, not judge myself for that multi passionate energy or the need for things to be dynamic. it's really been, and I invite anyone who's listening and wants to understand how to run their business authentically, understand your human design, understand your chart. That's what I teach in the astrology piece. But I just have found that with the human design, it gives you so much permission to just be like, to what I like to call run your energy, like run your energy authentically. And I would say that the coolest thing recently that I'm having a lot of fun with, I love to teach, and my part of fortune in my chart is in Gemini in the fifth house of Leo ruled. So creating success is around communication and self expression and performance. And I look at teaching as like an opportunity. I was a dancer my whole life, and I see it as this opportunity to perform. And I've even been having fun with my master classes where I bring in the DJ element and like bring in the embodiment element with some of the movement work. And I'm just finding ways to enjoy, like, and I love just your reflection and your acknowledgement of like my courage to kind of do my thing. And it's not always easy. I do at times get criticized, or I have people who just, I'm not for them, and it's okay. But it's like the mantra I always have for myself is like, whoever this can serve, because whether it's meant to serve 100 people or 100,000, that's up to, I believe that's up to the divine. Like, I just have to trust like my heart. And my Capricorn ascendant in my chart helps me be patient, because Aries aren't known to be very patient people. But that Capricorn and that earth quality, I have a lot of Virgos in my life, by the way, but that understanding that elementally, it helps me to be patient with the process. And I teach that all the time. Like, ignite the energy, like open up the passion, but then have, as I said, the gumption and the commitment to see things through. And it doesn't mean everything is going to be a 10 out of 10. Some things are going to be like, I need to abandon this, it's not working. And then some things are going to be like, I love this enough that I'm going to see it through all the way. So that's really the space I've been in with business lately.
Wow, incredible. There's so much. This might take it in a different direction, but one thing that really landed for me is that, as business owners, there's so many different directions that we can follow. And I
Mhm.
feel like oftentimes the one that's calling to us, the one that's speaking to us, perhaps is the one that has like maybe the most amount of resistance, or there's the most amount of like
Mm.
vulnerability or putting yourself out there in a certain way. And like when you shared about like a little bit of resistance around going full all in
Mm.
around money mastery, like I can totally relate to that. And full transparency, like this isn't something that I've ever shared on the podcast before, but it's like in my business I have like two sides of it. And
Mhm.
one is really more in like the masculine sort of like traditional business, and the other really is like more in the feminine. And
Mhm.
I feel like, that pull of going and following your heart, and in my case it is like going all into like the woo woo and the mystical, the Pisces realm. And what you're sharing is just, it's really inspiring. And I feel like it's really um, so helpful for anybody, because I feel like we set the intention. And when we're going all in, the universe responds to that intention. And it really requires stepping full in with almost like 2 feet, and expressing that intention to the universe and showing up. And
And co-creating, like that word really came back online with me because I just finished a book called Zero Limits by Joe Vitale and Dr. Hugh Len. It's about Ho'oponopono. And he talks a lot about co-creation. And that just reminded me that like we are co-creating with a divine intelligence. And I had a dream last week, and my dream literally reminded me that all of the greatest things in my life have been created because I co created, or I very simply surrendered to divine intelligence. Call it God, call it the universe, call it life, call it goddess. It doesn't matter. But I but I surrendered, or I chose to consciously co-create with that energy. And I just think if there's one thing I see, especially with money and business, because there is a lot of trauma, there's a lot of emotional pain around these things. And they've caused pain, and they oftentimes even now cause pain, but they don't cause pain because of that, the tools themselves. It's because of the consciousness of the person using them. So what gets to happen now? We understand that these tools, when we utilize them consciously, what can we create? When we choose to look at money as a current of energy and something to make peace with, we are in a co-creative process. And I think that that's why my work has struck a chord with certain people, because they're just exhausted by the way that these things are communicated and talked about, and it doesn't work for them, just like it didn't work for me. And then we realize that, like, this isn't just on us. Like, it's not about spiritual bypassing, it's not about giving up all responsibility, but it is about understanding that we are in a co-creative relationship with divine intelligence. And these things get to show up in every area of our life: health, relationships, money, business. And I think the biggest thing, and even me getting sick recently, it really dropped me back into that knowing, because I feel that I have come into this life experience having certain understanding of things, but I forget all the time. And sometimes I'll get humbled because I have to remember. And also I know I'm here to share, just like you, Emily, are here to share. And it's like, we go through the things we go through to remember and then to remind. And it's just, it's powerful. It's really important right now.
Yeah. One of the things that I was listening to of yours recently was about, overcoming perfectionism and
Yes.
self-criticism. What would you say are some ways that you found to be really helpful on that journey?
Oh my gosh, I mean, I'll be so transparent because it's very new for me. Like, that Capricorn ascendant in my chart is can be very harsh. I have a Capricorn mom. She's amazing, but she's always expected a lot of me. And in some ways that's been a gift. It's really encouraged me to show up and to be someone who achieves, but not just for the sake of achieving, like a, achieving in a way that benefits other people. So there's been gifts, but at the same time, I have more practice being hard on myself than I do being in communion. And a practice for me recently that's been really beautiful has been looking at myself in the mirror and smiling. And there was a time in my life in 2018 where I truly quantum leaped. And I don't say that as like a spiritual buzzword. Like, I actually did experience it. And I'm happy to share. I talk about it all the time, honestly. But one thing I was doing nonstop is I was looking in the mirror, and every time I'd look in the mirror, I'd say, I love you. And I'd smile at myself. And I'm doing that again now. I kind of got away from it. I went back into the judgment, went back into the like body checking and making sure, not looking in the mirror and seeing my soul, but looking in the mirror and seeing the projection of my mind. And everything that's gone on for me recently has really brought me back to that, of like, I'm going to look in the mirror, and no matter what I see, and I'm 36, like, of course I'm not 66, but I am getting older. I'm not 26 anymore. And when I look in the mirror, I get to look at myself and be like, it's you and me, baby girl. Like, let's go. Like, I love you. And like, instead of judging myself or perceiving or projecting, I've really had this practice over the last few weeks. And I share this transparently because, like, this is new for me. Like, I did it many years ago and it was special, but I got away from it. And now to come back to the basics of just every time I see myself in the mirror, talking to myself, affirming myself, and not fake pumping myself up, but just literally being like, hey, I see you. How are you, by the way? Like, how are you actually doing? How are you feeling? You look beautiful. Like, just affirming, loving, accepting. And if I think back to the times of my life where I really shifted, I was doing this. And 2018 was the most prolific because I made such a practice of it. Like, I just became my own best friend. And when I talked about a couple minutes ago, like co-creating with divinity, um, I would get in my car and just, if because for me at the time, it was a lot around relationships with men. So if I would start to go into negative thinking about a relationship or a situationship, I literally would just affirm, like, I don't even remember what I would say, but I would just affirm something so different and so new. And I met Mick, my husband, 6, 7 months after doing this. So I'm excited to see what I create next, as I had this big spin cycle recently around really releasing the perfectionism identity. And what gets to happen when I come back to the basics of my practices, affirmations, the reason they're powerful is because our subconscious is always listening to us. It listens to everything that we say. It's like an incessant tape recorder. And the way we speak internally and the way that we speak externally, both to others and ourselves, it doesn't mean we need to police our communication all the time. But it's like we do have to remember and understand that, like, we're always listening, like, always, like, there is something so powerful within us, the subconscious mind that hears us. And when we are willing to be affirmative, when we're willing to have our own back, that is very powerful. And it's something that over the years, even though I've gone in and out of it, every time I come back to the basics of what I know and I'm willing to hold myself accountable. The last thing I want to add to this really quickly is that book Zero Limits really helped me with this. It really got me back into, again, that co-creative relationship with my higher self, with the part of me that's rooted in unconditional love for me, not my ego. My ego is important, it's there, but it's not everything, it's not all of me. And yeah, it's that's a great book, by the way. It's truly like changed my life and just the way I'm communicating with myself. And I think it's beautiful how we'll get the things we need when we need them. Like, I needed that book and it just kind of dropped into my life so in such a beautiful synchronistic way. It was really cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that so much.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that practice. And
thank you.
it's incredible just to hear about the quantum leaps that you experience through, what seemingly is a simple practice, but so, so powerful. And it's such an incredible reminder. And you totally read my mind because I wanted to ask you about your habits and some of your rituals and routines because I feel like you have so many great ones. Are there any other like habits or rituals that you would like to share?
Oh man, it's really funny because somebody was asking me recently, they're like, "What's your morning practice like?" And I was like, "My morning practice has been really human lately." I'm like, I literally get up, I make breakfast, and I go to the gym. That's changed a little bit recently, but just getting grounded in the morning. I used to be someone where I was like, I've got to do like all my spiritual practice. And the truth is, when I accept that I am a human that needs 8 hours of sleep, it doesn't always leave me a ton of time in the morning to do the things that I want to do spiritually. So, where that has shifted lately is doing it at night. So, I do my hypnosis at night or my journaling at night, or I'm currently doing a 21-day abundance meditation with Deepak Chopra. And it's just like on his app. And I last night did that at night because yesterday morning, let's see, what did I do? Let me think really quickly about what my current practice is. Because again, something I teach in my work is like to understand your sixth house, and your sixth house in your natal chart. It will actually show you a way that you can relate to your habits for like just optimum, let's say, results. And for me, I have Gemini traverse my sixth house, and Gemini is a mutable energy, meaning it likes changeability and variability. Like doing the same thing all the time is kind of boring. Whereas if you have like a cardinal energy, your habits may need to be new or made anew often. If you have a fixed energy there, or you just have a lot of fixed energy in your chart, then doing like consistent, the same thing all the time is like really great for you. So modalities are really interesting in that way. So for me, being in that Gemini sixth house, having variability in something different is really exciting to me. So recently, I've been doing my breakfast. I lay on this thing that's helped correcting my shoulder posture. Sounds really funny. And then I eat breakfast and I go work out, or I go and do a beach walk. So, a big priority for me lately as an entrepreneur and in my business has been to have more spacious mornings and just to, this has been fun. Like every so often I'll do something early like this, but mostly I've just realized like, how much space can I have in the morning for creativity, for study? Right now, I'm studying a business course. And my husband challenged me to actually study it every single day and finish it, because you know how you buy courses and if you don't study them literally every day, it's so easy to let it go. So I would say right now, like studying, getting out in nature is a really important habit for me. And then my nighttime practices, I do a lot of red light therapy. I feel like I'm a little all over the board, but that's a Gemini sixth house for you. I'm literally like, I feel like I have my grab bag of my habits. But the truth is, in certain times of my life, I have had to be very regimented. And right now, my habits have become my lifestyle. So the regiment, the sort of what would be the word there? This, I guess, being more regimented isn't as like needed. But if you are in a place where you're like, my money is all over the place or my health is all over the place, then finding ways to be consistent, it's almost like a little bit of reverse engineering. So if you're in a space where you're just like, okay, I really like, I'm exhausted all the time, well, reverse engineer. Or I'm feeling spiritually disconnected, reverse engineer. What one or two habits could you bring into your life, one in the morning, one in the evening, that's going to anchor your life and your relationship to these areas of your life? And that's really what it's become for me, is less of I've got to sit down and do something for 10 to 30 minutes, and more of like, okay, what are my current reverse engineering? So for me, it's been, was that?
I love your astrology teachings. I'm just like sitting here smiling because I love this. And when you're sharing about all your habits, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so Gemini and it's so fun, you know?
It's
And
so funny. It's literally hilarious because it's like I used to be hard on myself because I'd be like, do the same thing every single day. And not everybody is like that, but it doesn't mean you don't have to have no habits or no healthy habits just because you like variation. And that's been a big thing for me, is like, can I just have a grab bag of habits that I love? And as long as I'm taking care of myself, mind, body, soul on a daily basis, reading is another one. I'll take you through a day very quickly because somebody is probably like, what in the heck? We just went in all the directions. But like, let's say morning, I do 10 gratitudes before my feet hit the floor. I do tongue scraping and oil pulling, take care of my health. I make a full breakfast, take care of my dog. I lay on my little corrective thing for a couple minutes because I'm like working on my shoulder health right now. And then from there, I'll study and then I'll go to the gym. I'll have a full day of work. And then at night, I do my best to turn off work by 8 o'clock. And because I like to just start to rev the nervous system down. And then when I get into bed, I'll journal, I'll read on my Kindle. I turn on a hypnosis, I put on my red light, and I fall asleep. So, this is my way of kind of bringing all that together. But this has just become like habits that have become a lifestyle where I'm like, okay, what do I need right now? What area of life do I want to improve? And what habits are going to take me there?
I love it so much. And what a fun, dynamic day. It's just fun to get like a behind
Thank you
the
for letting me go in 20 directions. I was like, let me just land this and just, if I was recording by myself, I would have been like, rewind. And then I just like to share the one thing.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I love it. I love it. And it's amazing to connect with all the habits, the rituals that like make your day feel fulfilling and rewarding. And I feel
Yes.
like just the invitation for all of us to reflect on, what routines, what rituals like really are aligned and nourishing and light us up or in alignment with our own unique design.
Yes. I love that.
Natalia, this has been such an incredible conversation. I'm so, so grateful.
Thank you, love.
Yeah.
I'm so honored. Like it just feels like such a gift to just be able to come and share my heart. And I just cannot thank you enough for having me back. This was so wonderful.
Oh my gosh. Well, you are such a magnificent teacher and inspiration. I love following your journey and so
Thank you.
grateful for all the wisdom, the heart that you share so beautifully. So, yeah, where
Thank you,
where
love.
can listeners go to learn more about you and all of your beautiful offerings?
Absolutely. So I'm super active on Instagram, just at Natalia_Benson. And my website is nataliabenson.com. And I keep my link tree on my Instagram really up to date. So there's amazing free offerings in there, ways to work with me, and lots of amazing stuff going on over there. So I am so grateful I got to have this time with you, and just thank you again, love. This was really, really amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone listening. If you liked this conversation, please share it with a friend. And as always, I'm sending so, so much love and gratitude. Look forward to connecting with you next time.